Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast After the Bell with Chip Nellinger. Chip, looks like there is a little downward trend in the marketplace today.
There was, kind of led by beans. We've had some really choppy couple of trading sessions in beans. So yesterday we had that huge rally late in the day in beans. We rallied almost 20 cents off the lows. About 12:30 Central, there was a news story that came out that said that the United States and China had reached an agreement and we were going to avert a trade war and do away with all these proposed tariffs and taxes. By last night and early this morning, that was, I guess, proven to be fake news. It did not happen at all. It was totally fabricated.
Yeah.
So not only did it affect the bean market, but a lot of stocks yesterday, like Boeing, Caterpillar, a lot of companies that have a lot of sales into China, had big rallies yesterday afternoon on that news. So it just goes to show you we're in a new environment. Fake news affects the markets. It was totally fabricated, and the bean market got hit pretty hard today on, I guess fears ongoing that no, there is not an agreement, and it doesn't look like there's one in sight on this trade war. So pretty sloppy close in the bean market. We ended up 16, almost 17 lower in beans on the day. For the week, we lost 10.5 cents in the bean market. Wheat was down today as well, pretty hard. Slightly better chance of some rain in some of the dry areas. So wheat was down, almost 14 cents in the Chicago, about the same in the Kansas City. But for the week, wheat still had a pretty strong move. We ended up 25 cents higher for the week in Chicago wheat, 23 cents higher in Kansas City wheat. So, moral victory there, even though we were down a little bit on Friday. The corn market was kind of the outlier here. We had a pretty steady week. Corn planters rolling like crazy over in this part of the Corn Belt, and so you would expect that maybe the market would be under pressure with planters rolling, but it's not like that everywhere. Out your way and north of you, up in the Dakotas, Minnesota, they're really slow. In fact, I talked to somebody in South Dakota yesterday, and as of yesterday morning, they hadn't even really started in South Dakota. They got some rain. It's too cold. Soil temps are low. There's still frost in the ground in parts of North Dakota, Minnesota. So it's crazy spring, and that's starting to affect the corn market a little bit. For the week, we were up 6 cents in corn, down a penny and a half today, but a pretty strong week in the corn market overall. The livestock market, we traded cash cattle better this week. We had the big rally last week, so for the day, cattle were down 55, 60 points today, but for the week they lost $1.27 compared to a week ago. So we'll see. The cattle market is really in a kind of a sloppy sideways range here. One thing I did want to show, if I can do this right, is the bean market. Are you seeing that chart, Casey?
No, I'm not.
Now are you?
No.
Technology is great, isn't it?
It's awesome when it works, isn't it?
Are you not seeing it currently?
I think it's coming now. I just got to get here. It's got to come all the way from Illinois to Nebraska. So there you go. It's up there now.
A little bit slow.
There you go.
Bit slow.
That's up there now. Yeah.
Okay, so this is a 240-minute chart of July soybeans. So each bar on here is 240 minutes in time. You can kind of see I've kind of drawn these blue lines. We're kind of just slopping around sideways in this little triangle, and we close down near the bottom of it. So this is what the market's going to kind of focus on next week. And if you drop out of the bottom side of this triangle, it could exaggerate the selling pressure and have people thinking that maybe we're going to go back down here and get under $10. So that's on the July bean contract. Likewise, if we support down here and come back out the top side of this, it could get pretty explosive. but this is going to be a news-driven market on this China news. So really could be a volatile week. Another interesting chart here. This is crude oil futures, again, a 240-minute chart. And we've really kind of slopped around in about a $2.50, $3 range here. The interesting thing to me is on this, prior to today, if you see all the pokes we've had down here to support 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, usually that's hinting that, hey, this market's getting tired and we're going to break out to the downside. But we reversed and actually closed at multi-month highs in here on crude oil. So it looks like crude oil is not done going up. We challenged $70 a barrel, and this market looks pretty strong for the weekly close. So that's kind of an interesting chart there. It does have a little bit of significance for the grain markets, obviously from ethanol and the biodiesel standpoint. So the grain traders definitely watch that as well. So those are two interesting charts that the market's going to watch pretty closely next week, I think.
So is your oil chart, is that West Texas or is that Brent?
Yeah, it's the crude oil future, West Texas, light sweet crude.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, the China thing, I've read some articles about it this morning, trying to get all the information I can get on it, and it really sounded like to me, like to your point, the fake news thing. They really just agreed to disagree, and I don't think they accomplished anything while they were even there. I don't think anything got accomplished.
Yeah. That's I heard earlier too that they are supposed to put out more of a statement either later this afternoon or in the morning. At this point, though, you really have to be cautious. You don't, unless it's an actual news conference and someone's talking about it. You really got to be a little cautious on some of these news stories. I know driving home yesterday, I was kind of flipping through my Sirius radio and listening to they were even talking about this China deal, that news on the major network. So it wasn't, it was a well done fake news item, I guess is what I'm saying, and you have to be careful. I think it's a learning experience for all of us that you don't always believe everything you read on Twitter, especially.
Right. Trust but verify, right?
Exactly.
All right, Chip. Well, moving into next week, kind of like what you said, there could be some upward side. Like you said, it all hinges on this China stuff, and there's a lot of stuff that hinges on that. So hopefully they can get some clear heads to get together and maybe resolve this situation sooner than later.
Exactly, and you never know. We sometimes have some news out over the weekend. So you've got the China news. You've got a crop report next week as well on Thursday at 11 Central. That will be our first snapshot of new crop. So that'll be interesting, and obviously a lot of weather to get through as well. And, planning progress Monday afternoon. Market's going to watch that. So we got plenty next week to hit this market and affect prices.
Right on. Okay, Chip. Well, if guys want to get a hold of you and continue this conversation or talk about some risk management stuff, how would they do that?
Yeah, best way is just call our office here, 309-550-7213. And we'd be happy to talk to you.
Right on. Well, Moving On podcast can be found in iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn Radio, and SoundCloud. And check out our YouTube channel where you can see this video posted with Chip Nellinger's After the Bell and Glenn Birkbaum's Tax Moves. So till next time, well, I guess till Monday, we'll talk to you later.
Have a good weekend.
All right. Thanks, Chip.